Hey, welcome. Today we're going to tackle one of the toughest but maybe most powerful ideas out there, forgiveness. It's a concept that really challenges our deepest instincts, but as we're about to see, it might just be the key to breaking these awful cycles of conflict, both inside ourselves and between entire countries. So, what we're digging into today is Michael Henderson's incredible book, Forgiveness, Breaking the Chain of Hate. And it puts forward this really challenging idea that in a world that's just full of justified anger and deep historical wounds, forgiveness isn't some sentimental weakness. It's a practical, totally necessary tool for building any kind of future. Right at the start, the book hits you with this powerful idea, a Chinese proverb that gets right to the core of the problem. Revenge, that burning desire to make someone else hurt the way they made you hurt. It's a trap. It doesn't just consume your enemy, it consumes you too. It's a self-destructive cycle. Okay, so that leads to the big question, right? If wanting revenge is so natural, so powerful, how do we stop it? How do you break that chain of hate without just letting people off the hook or pretending something awful never happened? Well, Henderson's book says there is a way, and it all starts with really understanding what forgiveness truly is.
All right, so if we're going to see forgiveness as a tool, first we need to clear up a few things. The book makes a great point. Before we can get what forgiveness is, we've got to be super clear on what it's not.
And this is huge because it just shatters all our usual assumptions. Look, Henderson shows it's not about saying, oh, what you did was okay. Absolutely not. The act was wrong, period. It's not forgetting, and it's definitely not a substitute for justice. And get this, it doesn't even mean you have to be friends again with the person who hurt you. It's not some fuzzy feeling, it is an active choice. Okay, so if it's not all of that, then what is it? Henderson describes it as a process, a journey almost. It's a deliberate, voluntary decision that a victim makes to let go of the consuming power of resentment and that need for revenge. And here's the kicker. It's a choice you make for yourself, for your own freedom. It's about you letting go of that chain to the past. So, that sounds good in theory, but what does it actually look like? To really ground this big idea, the book shares a story that's just deeply personal and incredibly powerful. Because, these big ideas are one thing, seeing someone actually live it out, that's something else entirely. Let's talk about a man named Eric Lomax. He was a British officer, captured during World War II, and he was brutally tortured by the Japanese secret police while he was forced to work on the infamous Burma Railway. For almost 50 years, the memory of his interrogator, a man named Nagase Takashi, just haunted him. It fueled this deep, deep hatred. And this quote? Wow. It just lays bare the internal war he was fighting. For decades, he was obsessed with getting retribution, thinking that physical revenge was the only thing that could ever calm his rage. You can hear it in his own words, right? He was still a prisoner, chained to his own hatred, long after the war was over. But then, everything changed. Lomax found out that Takashi was not only alive, but was absolutely consumed by remorse for what he'd done. And when they finally met face to face, Lomax made a choice. He decided to put out that fire. He forgave him, not for Takashi's sake, but to finally set himself free. Just like he said, sometime the hating has to stop. Okay, that's one person's incredible story. But what happens when you scale that up? Can this same idea work to heal the wounds of an entire nation? Can the principles of forgiveness go from one person to millions? Well, Henderson points to the work of a diplomat named Joseph Montville, who came up with this concept called healing history. It's basically a roadmap for political forgiveness, a way for whole societies to grapple with massive trauma. And it starts when the group that did the wrong, or their descendants, formally admits to the terrible harm they caused. And Montville breaks it down into 3 really clear steps. First step is acknowledgement. The group that did the wrong has to admit it, plain and simple. Second is repentance. They have to show they're genuinely sorry and take responsibility. And only after that comes the third step, forgiveness. That's when the victim group chooses to release that grievance. Again, not for the other side, but to build a future they can all share. The book gives us 2 amazing real-world examples of this. You've got Australia, where a movement from the people led to a national Sorry Day to acknowledge the pain of the stolen generations of Aboriginal kids. And then you have South Africa, where after apartheid, the government created this formal commission, the TRC, which was all about hearing individual stories. So totally different situations, different methods, right? But the core idea is exactly the same. And just to give you a sense of the scale in South Africa, think about this number. 20,000. That's how many people came forward to tell their story to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It was just this massive nationwide effort to drag the truth out into the open so the healing could begin. And the whole philosophy behind it was summed up perfectly by the chairman, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He knew that looking at the past, as painful as it wasn't about getting stuck in it. It was the only way to build a foundation so that all South Africans could have a future together. He basically said, look, without forgiveness, there's no way forward. The cycle of hate just keeps on going.
So, what this all boils down to, the big takeaway from Henderson's book, is that forgiveness isn't really about the past. It's not about erasing what happened. It's all about creating a different future. It's actually an incredibly practical, forward-looking thing to do. So let's just quickly recap the main ideas here. First, forgiveness is a choice. It's not a feeling. It's a tool for peace, not a sign of weakness. It's something that actually frees the victim from being poisoned by the past. It's what stops that endless cycle of revenge in its tracks. And because of all that, it's the one thing that truly makes a shared future possible.
And that leaves us with a pretty provocative thought. Henderson's book doesn't paint forgiveness as some saintly, impossible ideal. Instead, it presents it as the ultimate form of power, the power to break free from the past. So in a world like ours, which feels more and more fractured by old hatreds and new conflicts, maybe the question isn't whether we can forgive. Maybe the real question is, can we afford not to?